My gut tells me that they were ambushed.
So, I had assumed this whole time for 6 months now that it happened in the middle of the night.
And now we know it was the middle of the day. Absolutely.
Broad daylight.
Broad daylight.
I don't want to get her involved in this. I don't want to ruin her life. Like, if something like this, I don't want her involved in this. Okay?
At some point, Chris locates what's called a dry bag.
Brian Laundrie's body has been found. Law enforcement had considered Laundrie the only person of interest in the murder of his fiancée, Gabby Petito.
You're the one that filed the missing persons report.
Yeah, and I'll totally come forward with that.
That's all it is the truth. So there's nothing to hide in that coroner's report. There's nothing to hide by not having Kelly take a polygraph. And if the truth comes out, and this was a...
How do you deal with it? I had to sneak the other day when I was with Josie. I had to sneak and talk to him. I had to sneak and talk to him about his sister.
Makes me think the worst. Like, did you after all three of them?
Hey everyone, thanks for being here. Hello, Rachel and Karen, BLN, Demon Child, CDT, Mark, Bonita, Barbie, everyone else, Tanya. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate you joining me for the live stream. So this is part 6. And we have, so we're 3 hours and 9 minutes in, and the whole thing is about 4 hours and 45 minutes. So, as much as I wanted this to kind of conclude the re-listening of the prison interview 3 years later, I just feel like I don't want to rush through this because, I've been so, excuse me, I've been so busy with the other cases that I just feel like I haven't been able to give the Watts case a lot of attention lately. So rather than just conclude this in 6 parts and get through this last bit tonight, I figure this case just has meant so much to me in this channel, as far as us wanting answers and searching for answers and researching, that I figure, it is what it is. If we have to do another part, then we'll do another part. But yeah, I just feel like, why rush through this if there's more to kind of dig through? I want to make sure that we get a chance to kind of react to every little thing that we want to in this interview. And the last part kind of escalates as far as him speaking about the details of Survey and how the girls went and etc. So, okay, Kit Kat knows what I'm talking about. It is tedious work, Karen, but this is a very long interview, isn't it? Hi, Seth. Hi, Ambi. Pink Dahlia. Yeah, Watt's case is forever. And this was supposed to be a re-listen and react. So 3 years later, so you know what? We're just going to keep doing it, and we're going to give it its fair amount of research and listening and reacting. So I guess we might as well just get started and pick up right where we left off. Hi, Vicky. Hi, Rebecca.
We were talking about, but it was, I love you anymore. And then she's like, you're never going to see the kids.
Oh, that's perfect, Chris. That's exactly what we need. Okay. And I know it's hard to walk through that again, but that's exactly what we need. So then, as soon as she started talking like that, then it was on. Okay.
But it was you saying that you didn't love her? Is that right? Okay.
And her saying, you're never going to see the kids.
Yeah.
Okay. I can imagine how that made you feel. I'm sorry.
It did more than what it did.
Yeah. And then the fact that she didn't scratch at you or anything, is that just because it was so powerful?
I don't think it, I mean, it didn't feel like, I've never done that before, put my hands around anybody before, so I don't even know what kind of force I was putting on her neck.
Okay.
Like I said, 2 to 4 minutes, I don't know if that was too.
I'm not really buying his verbiage and just the tone of his voice kind of going up and down here. Feel like at this point, for those who have been following all the previous parts, I feel like we've almost got a sense to kind of know when things are kind of flowing truthfully out of Chris's mouth. And when other times it's like, why can't I visualize what he's trying to relay, like verbally? And again, I just, for some reason, I truly do not believe that he climbed on top of her while she's pregnant to have this serious conversation, and it escalates and she's screaming at him underneath him, "You're never going to see the kids again." Like, do you guys understand how absolutely ridiculous that sounds? And if that was threatened to him, that you're never going to see the kids again, and that was enough to put him through like this rage, then why would he go ahead and harm the children? You know what I mean? If it escalated into murdering your significant other because of the threat of never being able to see your kids again, why would he then have to get rid of them? And you can argue, well, they walked in and seen something, but it's like, I just don't know if I buy that. And thank you, RAS, for joining chat. I saw you earlier, and you are my sunshine. And thank you, Farmer, for your super sticker. Appreciate that. That horse is beautiful. So this next few sentences and how things seem to have taken place here, I just am not really buying Chris's take on it. Some people have gone so far to say that they don't believe Chris did any physical part in the killings and that there was other people there and he, helped. Some people obviously think he did it all by himself. I personally think it was like a collaborated effort between other people and Chris, possibly. The way that he talks about the way things went down, I don't believe. So if he was there at this point, he's in prison. There's no reason to lie about him murdering them at this point. He's in prison the rest of his life. He doesn't even know he's being recorded right now. So I just don't understand. I'm not really believing much of what he's saying. And it gives me like this feeling of like, can I even place him with this direct involvement, or were there other people? And I just don't know exactly, Debbie. Why is he lying so much? You agree, Amby? Okay, good. I didn't know if I was making sense.
Did you cover her face at all during that time?
And in other parts, listen, they've asked him, Baumhover and now Tammy have both asked him if he covered her face. Like Baumhover said something about a pillow. So that something is leading them to believe that there was something that made them feel like there was pressure on Shanann's face, I feel. Because they keep coming at him with wondering if something was on her face.
Both hands on the neck. Okay. And so if it's done right, I mean, that can be a matter of seconds before someone on their carotid loses oxygen to their brain and it's out, right? Did it seem like it was that quick, or? Okay. Maybe a minute, maybe 2? Okay. Screaming? Okay. All right. Did you see eyes go bloodshot or anything like that? Okay. Okay. And
you kept talking about the mascara. Did you see mascara on her face?
Yes, it looked like it was like. That's what I attributed it to.
Was she crying? Is that why? At what point did she start crying?
When I'm talking about the relationship, about not being compatible. And when she's talking about there's somebody else, that's where she started crying. That's what I thought, it was mascara. I didn't know if it was it.
Did you just hear him? I don't know. Was it? He's like asking them if it was mascara. Like, wait, weren't you there? You said earlier in this interview, which I think it might have even been in part 1, that she had mascara running down her face. And we raised the question of how could mascara be running down her face if she was laying on her back? But now we're questioning, why are you asking us if it was mascara? And yeah, Para Woman asked, did he use a pillow because wasn't there a pillowcase that had mascara on it? Allegedly, her cause of death, cause and manner was homicide, manual strangulation, and it was whoever cut the oxygen, allegedly Chris, cut the oxygen off to her brain, and that's how she was strangled. Whereas sometimes, like in the Gabby Petito case, there's like more than one way to strangle someone. It's either that or you crush their windpipe, which I believe is what ended up happening in Gabby's case, sadly. So it's just very strange, that's all. Yeah, exactly. You are my sunshine. He doesn't even know. Like, he's asking them if it was mascara. I don't know. Yeah, it is like pulling teeth.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Was there a pillow or something you wanted to ask him?
Yeah, so was there ever at any time a pillow or the sheet or anything involved in like that on her face specifically? No?
No, like the sheet I kind of wrapped around to get downstairs. That was it.
So here, like I said, Baumhover ends up asking, was there a sheet or something like over her face? And he said, no, just the sheet that he wrapped her body in to carry her down the stairs. But again, he's kind of like fumbling over his words. Like, I just feel like, I don't know. There's more details, obviously, that they know about the autopsy and the crime scene. And it seems like Chris here is asking them for the details. It's like, don't you know? And Rebecca, yeah, there were hardly any bruises on her neck for sure. And it's led me to believe that if she was sedated or drugged or unconscious, they wouldn't have to really throttle her neck, I guess would be the phrase and terminology. It wasn't violent, it seemed, according to the autopsy, in my opinion, but obviously I'm not a medical expert. But the fact that it was just oxygen flow that was cut off, it almost is like slight pressure, but enough to kind of like do it. And if she wasn't fighting back, then was she sedated? We don't know. Karen Kessinger is watching. Why was there a troll in here? I missed it.
The one that was at the site. Okay. And then the other sheets, they were in the trash. At what point did you put those in there?
I think that was
obviously after I was in the house.
Yeah. I think it was probably the next day or so.
So he's claiming that he didn't throw out those pillowcases and sheets until the next day after Baumhover was in the house. So Tuesday. That's a bit surprising. Why would he have waited till Tuesday to throw it out? Like if he was caught off guard by it and it was like, oh crap, let me get rid of those, like right on Monday, you would think. I don't understand that. Tony said, I think he changes his story to tell people what they want to hear. I don't think he has spoken any truth. Agreed. Like, it's just whatever feels right for whoever's talking at the moment. And yeah, they are leading him like crazy. Hi, Lisa. I'm just laughing at Seth's comments. Yeah, she probably is watching. She wants to stay ahead of the game and know what people are saying.
I think like, I'm not sure like what happened. This is hard to talk about. Like when you strangle someone, I don't like. Sometimes I guess they use the bathroom. So like I think that's one of the major reasons why, because I think that had happened.
Oh, okay.
You said she was sleeping face down.
So he said the reason why he threw out the sheets was because he had heard this is what he just said, not that she did relieve herself. He said he had heard that people relieve themselves when they're killed. What? He's not even saying that that's what happened with Shanann. He's just saying that he had heard that that's what happened, so that was why that he threw the sheets out. Hold on. Let's re-listen.
We were talking about, but it was, like I love you anymore, and then she was like, "You're never gonna see the kids."
Oh, that's perfect, Chris. That's exactly what we need. Okay, and I know it's hard to walk through that again, but that's exactly what we need. So then, as soon as she started talking like that, then it was on. Okay.
But it was you saying that you didn't love her. Is that right? Okay.
And her saying you're never going to see the kids. Yeah. Okay. I can imagine how that made you feel. I'm sorry.
It did more than what it did.
Yeah. And then the fact that she didn't scratch at you or anything, is that just because it was so powerful?
I don't think it. I mean, it didn't feel like I've never done that before. Put my hands around anybody before, so I don't even know what kind of force I was putting on her neck.
Okay.
Like I said, 2 to 4 minutes. I don't know if that was 2 to 4 minutes.
Did you cover her face at all during that time?
Both hands on the neck. Okay. And so if it's done right, I mean, that can be a matter of seconds before someone on their carotid loses oxygen to their brain and it's out, right? Did it seem like it was that quick, or? Okay. Maybe a minute, maybe 2? Okay. Screaming? Okay. All right.
So I just noticed too, re-listening to this, playing it back, Coder just said that could be like what, 2-3 minutes, and then he goes screaming. How could there be screaming when you're like cutting off, like when you're like choking someone? Did Chris like say yes or no? I couldn't hear that, but then all of a sudden Coder was like, okay.
Did you see eyes go bloodshot or anything like that? Okay. Okay. And
You
then,
kept talking about the mascara. Did you see mascara on her face?
Yes, it looked like it was like. That's what I attributed it to.
Was she crying? Is that why? At what point did she start crying?
When we were talking about the relationship, about not being compatible. And when she's talking about there's somebody else, that's where she started crying. That's what I thought, it was mascara. Mm-hmm. I didn't know if it was it.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Was there a pillow or something you wanted to ask him?
Yeah, so was there ever at any time a pillow or the sheet or anything involved in like that on her face specifically? No?
No, like the sheet I kind of wrapped around the.
So Pink Dahlia, I went back on my phone because I can do like the 10-second tap back, and you can't hear what Chris says. Like when Coder says screaming, he's either nodding his head or shaking his head.
Oh, get downstairs, something like that.
The one that was at the site? Okay. And then the other sheets, they were in the trash. At what point did you put those in there?
I think that was.
Obviously after I was in the house.
Yeah. I think it was probably the next day or so. I think I don't know. I'm not sure what happened. This is hard to talk about. When strangle someone out of sometimes I guess they use the bathroom. So I think that's one of the major reasons why, because I think that had happened.
Oh, okay.
So he literally is saying this is hard to talk about, but I guess when people die, they use the bathroom. So that was one of the reasons why. He's trying to say that's why he threw the sheets out on Tuesday. That is just so bizarre. I'm sorry, but what? There were pillowcases too, not even just sheets. This is bizarre. And something about Bonita Barbie, non-answer about the bloodshot eyes. Let me just take a second because it's easier for me to go back on my phone than it is to listen here, because I feel like he says no, but he says But hold on, let me just see while you guys listen. Hold on.
You said she was sleeping face down at one point? Was her face in the pillow, or was it turned to the side, or how did that?
Kind of like on the side. She was kind of like a side sleeper, but she was more down than usual.
Okay.
But then she rolled completely onto her back when you started talking to her?
Now, as hard as that was, we do need to talk about the girls too, okay? All right, thank you. So with the girls, we talked about how they got into the truck with you and were alive.
Did you see that?
Okay.
That's what it looked like. It was like,
Here.
that's what I attributed it to.
Okay, this is important because I did just rewind about the bloodshot eyes. And I'm going to put my phone up. I'm in StreamYard and this is a video file. So I can't do the tap back like how you can when you're watching YouTube through your app. So, and the mouse is really touchy. So I'm doing it on my phone. So here you can hear Chris say, like he's saying no about her bloodshot eyes.
Crying? Is that why? You kept talking about the mascara.
Hold on.
Did you see eyes go bloodshot or anything like that? Okay.
You kept talking about the mascara.
Did you guys hear it? And you guys can check also. But the reason why I want to note that is because later in this interview, I don't know if it'll be in this part or part 7, he changes it. And he said they're at Survey. And this is what really got me like looking into this case, because I'd fallen down this path, and then I told like somebody who I'd researched the case with like early on, and they pretty much went on YouTube like claiming it as their finding and all that, which it's not about like who finds it, but this was like the turning point in my research where I realized like Chris has no idea. So here he says about bloodshot. Later they talk about Survey and he says that's when her eyes filled with blood or something along the lines of like later on he thinks that's when her eyes turned red. And we'll get there so that you can hear his exact words. Well, if he's saying no, her eyes weren't red, and then he switches it to yes, her eyes were red, that's interesting because the autopsy says the eyes were not red. So it sounded good here when he says probably because they know like, okay, good, like that matches the autopsy. Her eyes were not blood filled. And then later on, he switches it to saying he thinks that's when her eyes turned red. And it's like, oh no, that's when you know that he didn't act alone because her eyes never were red. So Chris saying no and then switching it to yes in this interview, it's like, no, you don't even know what happened. Well, I mean, you know what happened because you helped plan it, but somebody else literally knows a lot more.
Are you 100% sure that's true? Okay.
Can we go back just a second? You talked about before that Bella walked in now to the bedroom. Can you tell us about that before you left?
Yeah, I was just here like getting the sheet off the bed, and she walked in, and she had her little pink blanket with her. And she was like, "What's wrong? Tell my mommy."
And where was Shanann at that point?
Yeah, just pretty much on the bed, but she was face down.
Wrapped in the sheet? What'd you say?
I just said, she didn't feel good. That's why I tried to carry her downstairs.
Shanann? Okay.
Did you carry her like this? Did you drag her? How did you do it?
Attempted to pick her up and take her down, but I lost grip after a little while. I just had to pull.
Did Bella see you?
See, that part I almost feel like it's true, where he's talking about how he lost grip, picking her up and carrying her. And, again, this doesn't mean that other people weren't involved. Like Chris, he said that she was face down on the mattress. That sounded true to me too. That sounded like his tone and everything was just factual. And again, I'm just going by vibes and feelings, and because this is what this is, a listen and react again 3 years later. But I feel like, and I think he talked about it with Cadel, carrying her downstairs and putting her at the back door. And I don't know, just the way that he was saying this, it sounds like it could definitely be true.
Did you do that? What was Bella saying?
She started crying a little bit. She's like, "What's wrong with Mom?"
And what did you say that time?
I said, it just doesn't feel good. She's a smart girl. She knew what was going on there.
Mm-hmm. Did she ever touch Shanann? Try and wake her up or anything? No.
She didn't want to see her or ask to see her or anything. And so that initial time, did she see you put Shanann in the truck? So she was kind of following you? Okay. So she followed you and you put Shanann in the truck. Okay. And then what?
I got...
Yeah, exactly. Pink Dahlia said, how'd she end up face down if he was sitting on top of her stomach? Like, what? The heck? Yeah, you are my sunshine said, I don't know how he could have moved her on his own. 145 dead weight. And that's what needs to be emphasized is the dead weight. And everyone's like, Chris was working out. This picture was him in the county jail. This was before the plea deal was even signed. He's not Hulk Hogan. He's an average dude. He's just in shape. It's just everyone. And then people are, well, his adrenaline, your rush only lasts max, 15 minutes? I just don't feel like, and think about, he's still got to go to Servy, dig the hole, blah, blah, blah. All that's like, it's just like, come on. There's just no way. That's why they pushed the plea deal. The DA knew he was screwed.
Cece wasn't up yet. She was just in her room. She was getting ready to get out of her bed. And then they were just walking around the house. Put my lunchbox and stuff in the truck, and then grabbed the kids and then put them in the bench sheet and that.
Okay. And so Shanann, is she kind of on the floor in the back? And they're just on the bench. Okay. And both alive at that point. Okay. Is there any reason you would feel uncomfortable to tell me that they were not alive at that point?
They were.
Okay.
Wasn't it a video or anything?
It's hard to see. Okay. And I believe you. I'm just I'm trying to make sure that I'm giving you all the opportunities to be comfortable enough to tell me exactly.
And here he's sounding very positive that the children were alive when they left. And he said, isn't there a video? And Coder says it's hard to see. And it is hard to see, but I see the shadows. I believe the children left alive because I don't believe they were part of the initial plan. But it's just interesting the way Chris says he brings up Nate's video.
Okay.
They were like, okay. Trust me, I hear that every day when Bella was talking to me on the site.
Oh, really? What do you mean?
When she said, Daddy, no. When we were driving to the site, she said, Daddy, it smells.
Oh, okay.
I definitely, I don't know how you guys feel, but I definitely don't think Coder is buying what he's saying right now. He's like, oh, okay. Like, I think it's just, oh my gosh, they know that Chris is just lying.
To maybe Shanann evacuating herself.
I don't know if it was that. They know that smell like a skunk maybe sometimes.
Oh, okay.
So I got some kind of smell that way, but I don't know what that was from.
And was that maybe outside the truck or was that in?
I don't know.
Okay. What did you guys talk about on the way out?
So Chris is saying that, holy cow. Remember when the dog lady was in the house and she says, she asked if there was marijuana use in the house? And, a lot of people say that smells skunky. Like, have you guys heard or smelled it yourself where weed smells like a skunk? So it's interesting that Chris is saying that the kids said it smelled, and Coder's saying from her evacuating herself, and he's saying he doesn't know if it was that, but smelled skunky. And I feel like he's referring to weed, possibly, which would allude to somebody else being in the truck smoking, maybe. What do you guys think?
They were pretty quiet. They just, played next to each other.
Okay.
Maybe Bella in her lap and TC in her lap, just back and forth.
Oh, okay. Just trading off like little ones do. Okay. Were they awake?
I think one would kind of fall asleep, the other one, and TC would kind of trade off back and forth.
Were they talking to you?
Just about, just saying, Daddy, it smells.
Oh, okay.
It was early in the morning, they were showing up early.
Yeah. Okay.
You didn't have to wake CC up?
There was the noise from trying to get Shanann down the stairs.
Did she kind of fall down the stairs?
No, it was more like trying to get her down and from the steps, maybe her foot, the next step kind of thing.
Oh.
They're licensed groups.
So then, once you get to the site, tell me what happens.
So I get to that one site and I get Shanann out to that. Go over to the part right off the site there.
Okay.
And the girls are still in the truck.
Okay.
Did they ask you what you were doing, taking mommy out, or?
Yeah, I don't remember what I told them, but they did ask that.
What they say specifically?
It was more like, what are you doing to mommy?
Okay. And then is that when you buried her?
I don't remember if it's like.
Yeah, I do think, Karen, that the children were handed off to someone, and that sounds totally crazy for those who are just kind of following this channel or this case in general. Hi, Seeking the Truth with Dave. But, we go through it a lot in 2020 and last year on this channel and on CDT's channel, which is linked in the description box. Just hours on hours of research, and you would have to kind of follow down that rabbit hole to understand. But yeah, pretty much when they get to Survey, everything was supposed to go on with the plan of the explosion, in my opinion. And in order for the explosion to take place, Chris was told the children were going to be used as collateral until the explosion took place, because they didn't know if they could trust Chris at this point. It sounds crazy, but it's kind of like gone into a lot in our research. But yeah.
Dug hole there first, or they didn't watch me do that.
Okay. So then pulled Shanann out, and she's maybe just sitting there on top of the ground?
Yeah, like off to the side.
Off to the side, close to where she ended up.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. And then the girls, right? Okay. You mentioned Bella was first. Cece was first. Okay. Where exactly was she when it happened?
In the back seat.
Okay. Was she just right next to Bella?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, so once again, was it hand over her face? Was it?
There was a blanket over and my hand.
And then your hand. Okay. And then so that just stopped her from breathing, type thing. Okay. Did she struggle at all?
I don't think so, but I was blocking her face and my hand was right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You had one hand here and one hand over her mouth?
And we're just pushing her against the back of the seat type thing? Okay. What was Bella doing?
She was sitting there next to it. She didn't know what was going on.
Okay. Could she see you? Okay. And then, did that take a minute or two?
Nothing. I didn't have no concept of time at this point.
Okay. Tell me about what you were thinking.
I was thinking and sort of happened.
Yeah.
I had any partial hint of what I feel for those girls and what I feel for my wife, but none of this would have happened. So I wasn't thinking.
Okay. So she's in the back seat. Okay. And then once she's gone, then is it Bella next, or did you pull Cece out?
I pulled Cece out.
Okay, so once Cece's gone, Bella's still there in the car alive, and then you pulled Cece out. What'd you do with her? Okay. So she went into the tank, and Bella was still in the back of the truck alive. Okay. With regard to that tank, did you bring up Cece, put her down, open the hatch?
Brought her up, opened the hatch.
And then put her in. Okay. When we talked the very first time we met, when we were talking about this, it was a matter of just lowering her down. Okay. And so she went in feet first. Okay. Was she able to fit pretty well? Was it snug?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
And again, was it snug? I don't think so. What? Everyone has seen pictures of that hatch. You can literally go on Google right now and Google the hatch for Serby 319, Chris Watts, something like that. It was 8.5 inches wide. It is the size of your standard paper plate that you buy at the grocery store. Cece measured larger than that in her width in her autopsy. And here we have Chris doubling down because in the polygraph he says he held them by their wrists and dropped them in. Now he's not getting that specific. He's just saying feet first. And Coder's asking and he's struggling. He's saying, don't think so. Like, what? How? Debbie, I'm not sure if he would have to put her down to open the hatch. I'm not sure. Like, would he have to use his wrench or whatever to open it? I don't know. Yeah, and I agree, Bonita Barbie. Instead of asking him what happens next and letting him speak, they lead him all the way. It irks me. Agree. Yeah, Valerie, he said, don't think so.
Okay. Did you have to move her around a little bit and get her in there?
I think so.
Okay. All right.
I didn't have to hit her
okay.
like that.
It's not like you stomped her in.
No.
Okay. And then close the hatch?
Yes.
Okay. And then went down to Bella. Tell me what happened there.
She said what happened to Cece. Or she asked, it was the same thing, the exact same thing that happened to me as Cece.
Did she ask you that? Okay. So Bella's pretty smart. How did she sound when she asked you that, Chris?
She said that soft voice she always had.
Yeah. And what exactly did she say?
that the same thing that happened to me as CC. And then I said, I don't remember what I said.
Okay.
I don't know if I just said yes, like a horrible person, or if I just put that blanket over her too and did the same thing.
Same blanket, same way?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She said, no, Daddy. And that's the last thing she said.
Did she say no, Daddy, like, please, no, Daddy type thing? Did she say saying, don't do it?
She said, no, Daddy.
Okay. Same way, hand on neck, hand over mouth, or hand over blanket, which is over mouth. Did that take a couple minutes?
Feel like it.
Okay. Then what?
I just know she had a couple spots like over her eye or something, and I picked her up. And same thing.
And we talked a little bit earlier today about it. You don't remember why a different tank? Okay. And there was no reason?
They're both the same tanks. They're just like, I don't know why I did two things.
Okay. There's one, I never got up there. Does one catwalk lead to both?
Oil can go into either tank.
Okay. But if you go up one set of ladders, does that eventually mitigate to both?
It's one catwalk.
Okay. Now, Bella was a little bit bigger. Was she harder to get in?
It felt like a little bit.
Okay. And so was it a matter of just kind of maneuvering her?
It felt like it a little bit. Bella was, she was petite for her age, but bigger than Cece and bigger than 8.5 inches wide, right, guys? Am I the only one here that is just like realizing that this man has no reason to lie about the details? He has signed a plea deal announcing it. Everyone in the media, everyone in the entire world knows that, or is under the impression that this man is taking responsibility for the death of his children and his wife, his pregnant wife. So why aren't the details making sense? He's not going to be up for appeal. He's not going to be up for parole. He has no reason to lie and say that it wasn't difficult getting the kids in there. And yet, he's like acting as if he has no idea the details.
Right. So then they're both in there. Is there any reason to think they were alive when they fell in? Okay. You're pretty sure? Okay. So once that's done, then what?
Now, take this for what you will, guys, but they asked Chris, and I don't want to ruffle any feathers, but I figure if we're going to re-listen 3 years later, then I'm going to just point out the things that have stood out to me. They asked Chris, since the polygraph interview and in this interview, they asked him, I think, 3 to 4 times between Tammy, Coder, and Baumhover. Like, I think Coder even asked multiple times himself. But between them all, they all get a chance to ask him. And between them all, he says no every time. But they all ask him over and over if the girls went in alive. And we don't have their entire autopsies. And I just want to say that it's just always stuck out to me how often they ask him, did they go in alive? Did they go in alive? And I don't know what to make of that. And he always says no. And during the polygraph one, I think he said like, God, no. Why do they keep asking him that? They ask him over and over. Wait, are we talking about NK here in this comment? Good night, all. I'm sick to death knowing Thought is listening. NK the Thought? I'm confused. Yeah, Para woman said, Amber, yes, I have horror feelings that Bella may have went in alive. I don't know, guys. I'm not 100% sold on she did or didn't. I think it's very interesting that they ask him, each of them once, coders asked more than once if they went in alive. I don't know.
Go over to Shanann, clear away some weeds and dig a hole.
Okay. Did you have a shovel?
Yeah, we have a shovel, a rake, and a weed whacker as part of our tools.
With that rake.
So people have caught this for years when he says we had a shovel and he says we, and everyone's like, who's we? Yeah, exactly. Who's we, right? So that's always stood out for sure. And yet Coder skips right over it. Hi, American Gal. Yeah, Debbie, that's true. Oil was in Bella's stomach, and they don't describe anything in the autopsy as far as oil in the lungs, but again, there was no complete autopsy given to us. They're sealed.
If I remember right, it was
part of it was sitting there because it was broken.
Oh, did it break as you were digging or something?
No, when I was like smoothing the ground over.
On this day, it broke when you were doing that. Okay, was that after you were all done? And it seems as though maybe the first people that got there saw it. Was it stuck in the ground?
I guess it was like not like standing up, but it was like laying down.
Oh, okay. Were you planning on coming back?
I mean, I don't think so.
Okay. At this point, then, this is just before then. In a couple of hours, you would make it back home to see Officer Conrad. Okay. And so once she's buried, then
that's when people start showing up, I believe.
Did you notice, was she cut or broken or bleeding in any way?
No, I mean, I know like the bloodshot eyes you were talking about. I noticed that at that point.
Yeah.
Here we go, Chris. You fool. Coder is asking him for details at the crime scene at Survey about Shanann. You know, the woman that he murdered himself. And he says about cuts and stuff. Not that I know of, but that's when her eyes were red. So suddenly her eyes went from no, not bloodshot, to now her eyes at Survey have suddenly turned red. And I think everyone's intelligent enough to figure out that your eyes, your capillaries in your eyes fill and, burst and go. You can look it up on Google when people are strangled. Shanann's weren't, because the squeezing wasn't that way. So it didn't take much to cut the oxygen flow off. Like it took enough, but she didn't fight back. So in my opinion, she was unconscious or sedated, not fighting back. And her eyes never filled with blood because it wasn't like a violent type strangulation. Her thigh, whatever bone, high bone in her neck was intact, which usually, like in Gabby Petito's, I believe it was crushed.
Other than that, no.
Had she partially given birth?
No.
If you remember?
Yeah, I remember. Remember, she had a shirt and think blue underwear on.
Okay. That's it. And so at that point, she was, okay.
And notice how he just said she had a shirt and blue underwear on. Yeah, everyone knows that. You can actually Google that and everyone will know. Her shirt and blue underwear were in evidence and there's photos. So He's just telling the details of the crime scene that we all know. Like here, Coder didn't even ask like what she was wearing. He asked if she had given birth at that point. It's like, and then he's like, she had a shirt and her blue underwear on. We know that. Everyone knows that. So you're actually not giving us any insight to the crime scene than we already knew. So it's like, were you there? Do you even know?
Thank you. I know that wasn't.
Can you tell us about, obviously you know when the district attorney got up and talked about Bella's injuries and stuff.
I didn't want to hear about that.
Right. Can you tell us about that?
As far as like her biting her tongue?
And ripping her frenulum, which is that connective skin from your lip to your gum, it was gone. Her gums had it looked like a hole in them and the pathologist said it was from her obviously struggling to get away.
I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
Could it be that that's what happened?
So like, I didn't put my hand like over her, like that. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, it would have been just downward pressure on her, this area.
I didn't see any of that when I picked her back up. Like it was like her lip was like missing or something?
No, see this skin that connects there? Yeah. That was ripped. Like it was gone. So it kind of made like a hole in her gum.
I'm just thinking maybe it's like, maybe like if her hand was not her head was like twisting back and forth. Could that have done that?
Yeah.
I had a blanket over. I don't know.
Listen to him asking them how it could have been done. This is almost like, it's so disturbing at how ridiculous this. Are we supposed to really believe this? Her injuries were violent. They were defensive wounds. They were from someone overpowering her. And Chris is over here saying, if I had put the blanket over her head, could that have done it? Why are you asking Tammy? We're supposed to be asking you. We're asking you what happened. When CDT, she said, did he say she had a blanket? Go back. Did he say she had a blanket? Hold on. Let me check on my phone. Let me check.
Maybe like.
Did you feel
Okay, hold on. It does seem like he goes to say like she. I don't know. Hold on. Is this the part you're talking about, CDT?
I'm just thinking maybe it's like, maybe like if her hand was not her head was like twisting back and forth. Could that have done that? Yeah. I had a blanket over. I don't know.
Listen to him. That part? No, Molly, this is just a re-listening of the 3 years later re-listen reaction to the prison interview. Her mouth, hand, Kelly searches equals answers said, and CDT's saying yes. Yeah, he did what he was saying, she, and then was like stumbling over it. Maybe he meant she had a blanket, as in not the child, right? Like, did he mean like a female accomplice had some blanket? Like, and then he was kind of stumbling as he was saying that. And then Rebecca saying her meaning Bella's, like, I don't know. Yeah, and then he said, "Oh no, not." He doesn't even know what he's saying.
Or doing that flashing, or trying to get away.
I felt her head moving back and forth.
You did?
But I didn't know that happened.
Could you tell she was trying to yell or say anything, or?
Only thing was Daddy no, and then like some grunt here and there, and like trying to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
During that time, do you remember getting phone calls from Nicole Atkinson?
After, I think, before she got to my house or after?
Just any time during that morning.
I think I didn't get one until I saw her on my doorbell camera.
And that was, what, 10 o'clock?
Yeah, it was right around there.
Okay. And so at that time, had everything been done out at 3319?
Yeah, I was at a different site, at a pumping unit.
Okay. So you went from there when it was all done. So girls are in the oil, Shenan's in the ground, and maybe a little bit of cleanup. Was there any questions we had about the sheets or any garbage cans or garbage sacks?
No, he answered those already.
All right. So then you went from that site to another site to work?
Yeah, because at that survey 319, there was a little spill down.
Did you hear Baumhover? Like, he just sounds like, no, he answered those already. He's just like over it too, because he knows like we're all just wasting our time. We're being lied to, but here Tammy's got to clear her name.
That's what everybody showed up there, because that was they were trying to figure out what happened.
Oh,
while you're on that subject, we back up. The night before, you had some text messaging about going out there. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that was, I think, Friday that we had figured out there was a spill out there from, like, it's an old site. It's set up a little different. So what had happened was there was a downcomer, and then there's a sidecomer going into those oil tanks, and one of the downcomers is tied into a back pressure line that split, and every time it was dumping oil, it was split underground, and the oil was coming up out of the ground. And we decided just to go out there on Monday, because it was Friday, and he had like switched it already. Either he shut it in, or he switched lines, or he covered it up and see if it was going to come back or not.
Okay. And then that's more specifically, you text about how you would go out there and take care of it?
Yeah, I was going to take care of it for him, because I've gone out there plenty of times.
Okay.
So I used, when another guy was out there, as far as another foreman, he showed me around out there like a year or so ago, and I just got familiar with the place, and I just welled them out.
Okay.
And so that was a genuine,
that
wasn't a pre-alibi.
But there's a lot of people that said that you wouldn't normally do that.
Normally help somebody?
No, like a field to your position, not you specifically, but your position doesn't do that kind of stuff.
Well, that's the thing. Like when I was a rover and to a field coordinator, I still tried to do everything I used to do.
Okay.
So that's still like, I wasn't good at delegating stuff. I just used to just doing stuff on my own, or just like taking care of it for somebody else.
Right.
I wasn't good at the whole like, hey, you go do this, you go do that, while I sit over here.
Well, you see what it looks like to us.
I know.
When it came up, we're like making plans to be out there, that day.
I know.
But that's not what it was. That was natural.
No. Okay. I was just going to help them.
So how long were you there? What time do you think you were done with the girls?
I don't really tell. I mean, I think everybody started showing up there by around 7:45, 8 o'clock.
Okay. And then you were there. Did you say you went to a different site?
Yeah, it's like I think it was either the 1029 or the 629 or something like that.
And so, how long were you at that site?
The rest of the day until I got called away.
So then that was You were there for at least a couple hours until you heard Nicole Atkinson on the doorbell.
Yeah.
And then I think there was even more time after that until you started coming home.
Yep.
And you got home at 2 something?
No, it's closer to 1:30. Around there.
So somewhere around, 9 o'clock-ish, all the way till 12:30 or 12 or 1 or something, and then you came home.
Yep.
Okay. There was a lot to do about coming home and listening to that Metallica song. Have you heard about that?
I've heard of a Metallica song that people have been, someone sent me lyrics to it called Battery.
Do you remember doing that?
That was Nikki Kessinger. She liked the song, or she just wanted to know what it meant.
Oh.
So that's
why you looked it up.
I just kind of looked at I didn't have the CD with me.
So I have a theory about this whole Nikki asking him what the song Battery meant. I don't know if you guys want to hear it. I'm going to tell you anyways. So she asked him what it meant, and he looks it up or whatever. And okay, so in my opinion, if you believe in the explosion theory, because here he was talking about the leak, it had the oil bubbling up above the ground, etc., the leak. So he's going out there to survey to attend to the leak. Nikki Kessinger knows that this explosion is going to take place. As a means to manipulate him and to motivate him, she knows that there's a Metallica song called Battery. And this song has been around for a long time. So it's not really like coincidence at all that it's called Battery. Like, I don't know. Like, it's strange, but at the same time, it's been around for a while. But anyways, she's stalked the family, as we know, on social media for a while. She knows that Chris likes Metallica. She used that as a means to motivate him about following through with the explosion plan. Because if you listen to the song, it's very... not that it's motivating, but it's kind of it's very intense, I'll say. So say you're Chris, right? And your mistress, who's just this like witchy woman, and she's just very like unlike anybody he's ever met. And she's spinning this whole like, I'm spiritual, I've been to Peru, I like simple things, and go to the sand dunes with me and I'll show you nature and this and that. She's telling him like, oh my gosh, what does this song mean? Specifically on the day that he's got to follow through with this explosion plan. So in her way, and if you're going to compare her to Charles Manson, like I've done numerous times, and Courtney Love, who I believe was conspiring against Kurt Cobain, it was a mean for her to manipulate and motivate Chris. So she waited to that day to kind of point out this song and lyrics, and she probably sold it as like, this was destined to be. You're going to follow through with this plan, and this is what it's meant to be. And this is part of your destiny and prophecy and fate. This Metallica song is talking about batteries, and that's what you have to explode. That's my opinion. Why she would message him about what that song meant. Again, it's my theory, opinion, speculation, but that's where I've kind of... and if you listen to Metallica songs, they're very melodic. Like, they're heavy, but they're melodic. And they're almost like they'll put you in a trance if you guys listen. So I'm wondering if there was some sort of drugs and sex tied to Metallica music, and it really was something that she thought would tie this whole prophecy in together for Chris.
Okay.
I just kind of looked at the words.
And was that on the way home? Oh, that was just a different time?
That was different time.
Okay, and so the media probably got away with
Coincidence
that.
because it says battery.
Right. Okay.
But it's like, it's more about like a family coinciding as a battery.
Okay.
Not like, hitting somebody.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why did Nikki want to know what it meant? Like, how did that come
I
up?
don't know. It was kind of strange. I mean, she's very into different types of music, and I mean, music I never really thought I'd ever listen to. And like, she got me into a few things there as far as music wise, but like, battery was just something that she asked me because I knew Metallica pretty well. She just wanted to know, like, hey, what's this lyrics mean? I just sit down, I just looked it up just to look at all the words together and just put it in my head again, and that was it. Just made something out of nothing. That's why it was strange. I got those lyrics in a letter.
Oh, so now does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, some specific lyrics to it.
Yeah.
I think that guy from California.
Oh, the kid?
Yeah.
The senior?
With regards to then when you get home, you and the officers, saw what they saw. You mentioned that you took the ring off her finger. And then the book, did you throw it out in the trash? Okay. There was another book, Body of Evidence. Does that sound familiar?
That you had in your cell.
A body of that, Patricia Cornwell.
Maybe. Does that sound right?
Probably.
Did that in Morgan County?
Mm-hmm.
What was that about?
That was just one they gave me.
Who gave it to you?
The deputies.
Not your attorneys, or?
Oh, no, they couldn't give me books.
Oh.
No, any book that I had was given to me by their book cart that they had.
So you didn't ask for that book, or?
No, they just kind of give me like, hey, I read some Brad Thor books. He's like a military guy. And Patricia Cornwell, my grandma always read her books and thought it was, she loved those books. And I'm not sure if that was probably one of the first books, not the first book I read there, but probably the second book I read there. But it was like they gave me, here's 4 books, choose.
What other book did you read? Do you remember?
The first book they gave me when I was in Suicide Watch was, I don't know why, but Murder at Something. And I was like, I looked at him and was like, that's the one we got. I'm like, okay. But,
They handed you that book by itself, no other choices?
the next book I got, another guy that was, I guess they're overcrowded there. A guy was sleeping on a cot outside my door. He's like, here, try this one. It was one that was based like in the 1800s. It's more of like a situational book, like a time period book. So that was a little more calm. But that was the first book they gave me.
You don't remember what it was called? Murder at Something?
Murder at the Truman Center.
Truman Center?
Yeah, I think it was Murder at Kennedy Center. I think it was written by Margaret Truman.
Has anyone ever looked into this book, Murder at the Kennedy Center by Margaret Truman or whatever Chris is talking about? I'm curious about that.
Did you read it?
Mm-hmm.
Was it good?
It was decent. I've never read a book in a long time, so it was different. But like some of the books they gave you, like when you're in the hold, I mean, you're not allowed to have books in there inside the Bible, but the counselors there let me have a couple of books, and they just here's one to choose from. This one they had.
Memories said, does anyone subscribe to the autism theory that's been put out there by other contributors? I believe he's on the spectrum. I believe he falls under, and I don't know like all the categories that are like the professional terms, but I think he's on the Asperger's level. And Seeking the Truth with Dave feels that way as well. And other people feel that way who have close relatives or themselves have Asperger's. So we don't have any official diagnosis publicly of him, as this never went to trial. So we don't have records that would be released after the trial was completed or whatever, But it does seem like it's a growing theory, and in my opinion, more so than when it first started. CTE, really? I've never considered that, but I won't discount it. He did do a lot of sports.
I told him like mystery books or something like that, and that's the ones.
It's kind of crazy they're giving them like murder books, murder mystery books.
You hope that it wasn't some sort of insult or, you can only hope. Okay. What do you think of yourself now?
Back when all this happened, when I was in Will County and everything, definitely didn't feel like myself anymore. Like when my attorneys would talk to me and talk to some of my friends and like some of the stuff they would say, like I could say good things, but I'm just thinking to myself, how could anybody even say those things about me now, being what happened? It's like people that I knew and that I never talked to again, that maybe I was like the roommate like back in the day or like went to school with or something like that. Now they're just gonna say that's it's like Chris Watts, that's a guy with the high school, that's the guy did all this horrible stuff to his family. Now I know I shouldn't really take to heart what other people think about me so much. It's just a matter of what God thinks about me, what He thinks, what His opinion is, not anybody else's. Because, everybody's gonna have their opinion about everybody. Before I got in trouble, I was always the guy, hey, look, or judge somebody on TV, like that guy that's no orange junction, that guy that's that killed that guy, that raped that somebody, that guy's horrible. Now and it's now when we come out at 6 o'clock at night and there's something on the news, I try not to even pay attention to it. It's I don't want to be in that position where I'm judging somebody else, because that's, what people were doing to me. I don't want to be that person anymore, but just hope that I can, step back and kind of look at everything that I've done in my life, and then up to that point, and just I did some good things, but the matter of the most important thing, I screwed up the worst. And so if I can at least maybe help somebody, and however much time I have left.
Was it your intent the whole time you were taking the girls out there that you were going to do that to them? Honestly,
it's when I got there, I didn't think it was gonna you talk about the tanks or I just thought process and all this, none of this makes sense. That's why I know you guys keep asking these questions, because it doesn't make sense to me.
But I guess did you could have done it before you guys left.
I don't know.
And not had him, alive in the backseat. They could have been with Shanann in the backseat.
I didn't think about anything really, as far as how everything was going to happen. I don't know why it happened, why I left everything out there in the field, and why all this stuff. Just, none of this makes sense at all.
But to Tammy's point, did you think that they might be coming back, or did you know they wouldn't be coming back?
No, the whole trip out there, it was I was on, I wasn't thinking. It was
Did you hear? He was the whole trip out there, it was I was on, and then he stopped himself, and then he said, it was I wasn't thinking. I'm just wondering, where was he going to go when he said it was I was on? I don't know. But yeah, his wording is very careful. That's why he can't have a flowing conversation. I agree. This whole 4 hours and 45 minutes, he's just been stuttering and stumbling and falling over his words. Don't you guys think there's just been a lot of moments where he's and it's do you even know? And then other times he'll talk to him about something so irrelevant, like Thrive or whatever, and he's talking all the flow is just coming out so natural.
Like in my mind right now, I'm thinking back. I'm hoping that I wasn't coherent enough to make that decision to where I knew I was going to kill my girls. I'm just hoping that no father would ever want to do anything to hurt his blood and flesh, but I did that, and I just don't understand how it happened. So, I even read books that say, no dad would ever do anything to hurt his children. This happened.
Hold on. Didn't he just say a few minutes ago talking about books? And he was like, talking about that Truman one. I hadn't read a book in a while. I don't know. And then now he's like, I just read all these books about if a father would do that. I don't know. That was just weird. Yeah, drugs. I definitely think, was he on speed that morning or something? That's what Tex in the Manson murders was on. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. Tex Watson. He said that he was just stabbing so many times that he just felt like it was like a motor, like in a car that's just going up and down. He was just so effed up at the time on speed that night that so it just really makes me wonder when we'll never know because he never got drug tested.
So I always think to myself, was I even a dad at one point? I don't know. But it's just going to take a long, long time to...
Why would he have to question, was I even a dad at one point? I don't know. Why would he have to question that?
Guilt and everything to get just the...
Did you ask for forgiveness from God?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just takes a long time for me to forget myself. And that's one thing that's going to take a lot. I just hope that they can one day forgive me too. Stay with
And
me.
I think you said earlier that you were so angry at Shanann or whatever that you were gonna, anyone in your path of destruction or whatever was gonna get it. Basically, kind of is what kind of made it sound like. I'm not saying that exactly right, but why were you so angry at Shanann?
I don't know if it was just because of separating me and my family, pretty much. Because, it happened at the wedding. That's the reason they didn't come to the wedding. I blew up at my family to a point where I said some horrible things to them back in 2012 that I pretty much told my family that, I don't need them anymore. Because I said, I cussed my mom out. I did all this kind of stuff. I never thought, and I don't know if it was just Shanann coached me on to do it, or if it was just rage that was I'd never seen before. And then I don't know if it was just everything that happened in July, but I can't see my kids, and I'm not sure if they're ever going to go see them again. I don't know. And it was just I don't know if that had something to do with it, that something inside of me just triggered it, and then just all that pins up from the wedding and everything, just it's like a long fuse that finally just went to its end.
What happened in 2012?
There was my mom and Shanann, just from when I proposed to her, it was at the beach, and from then on, it was just she always went up to Shanann and was I didn't need a ring like that when I was your age. I didn't need all these fancy things when I was your age, and just kind of kept boiling over, and we never agreed on anything. It was just we didn't really need their help to do anything. We just we'll just pay for it ourselves and all that kind of stuff. And it was just back and forth. And I think maybe my mom just never thought she was good enough. She always thought she was hiding something from me.
She always thought Shanann was hiding something? Like what?
I don't know, stuff from her past, or
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So there's conflict at a barbecue when all the families got together. And the first, maybe a barbecue that Shanann put together for everybody to meet each other. Two families, if you call that. Like when you first started dating.
Oh. I remember we did have something like that, but I didn't remember any kind of arguments at a place like that. I know when I proposed to her, Shanann had her family come down to the beach too. They stayed at a separate house. But as far as a barbecue or anything, I don't remember one that was like that.
Way before then.
Yeah. I remember the time when I asked Frank if it was okay if I had asked Shanann to marry her. Remember that little get together. I don't think.
So then what was the blow up at the wedding about?
It was just my mom and pretty much my sister just didn't like her.
Oh.
They just thought, that Shanann had taken me away from them and moved me out to Colorado.
Oh.
Because we were in Colorado when we flew back to get married.
Oh, okay.
Because we went to Colorado for Thanksgiving to visit some friends, and we decided to move out there a couple months later.
Okay.
So that was April. I moved out there April 2012, and we got married in November 2012 in North Carolina. So they always thought I was mistaken. And she took me away out there. And
Was there something with invitations or something? Your sister was supposed to send invitations.
Yeah, there was. Okay, now you're bringing some memories back. There's something to do with that, and then my sister wanted, her kids. Oh, my sister wanted her kids as the ring bearer and something else, ring bearer and flower girl. And then Shanann, she told her no, or wait, either Shanann told her no or Jamie backed out because of something else. And then it just all blew up.
And is that pretty close to the wedding?
Yes. Yeah, within a couple weeks.
Did they go to the wedding, your family?
My grandma did.
But your parents and your sister did not go.
Ronnie wasn't there either?
No. Nobody was there. It was, my grandma was there, and then the dance when the groom dances with his mom, I was dancing Mark's mom and my grandmother.
It's sad, isn't it? I mean, it all comes from a place of love, them loving you and not wanting to get stolen. And
it was a.
And while, when this case first started and we started hearing about the drama and the dynamics with the family, while that was interesting a little bit, 3 years later, listening to this and going back and reflecting on it, it's who gives a crap what Jamie did with wedding invitations and stuff? Why is the FBI and TBI? Baumhover's been super quiet this whole time that we've been listening tonight. Have you noticed? Barely saying a word this half of the interview. But why the heck are we talking about this nonsense? They're just building a narrative so that we all think, which I do think that it motivated Chris to conspire against Shanann. I do think that the family's disapproval of her would have been possibly a means for Chris to justify it, maybe, because he had no problem with Tammy blaming Shanann for the kid's death. He said, it's not going to come back on me, when she said, so you're okay with us believing that Shanann did this? And he said in this interview that he never came up with that idea until Tammy said it, but he knew that his family would believe it because they never liked Shanann. So they clearly just want us to think that this whole thing took place, like, and the children too, because of maybe family drama and, might as well just end it. But, like, that doesn't really explain why the children were taken. You know what I mean?
It was a great day. I mean, everybody was really happy. I mean, it's always just running in the back of my head. They were never there, and every time they look at pictures, it's just like, oh, where's not there? Mm-hmm. Never knew if they actually were going to come anyways, but as far as like, sometimes they'll just like, oh, we're just going to go just to be there, but they never knew if that was the case.
And so then when Tammy was asking, why were you so mad at Shanann? Was part of it just this whole family strife?
That's the only thing I can think of right now, because I mean, there's no other reason really to be mad at her. We took care of each other our whole 8 years. It was just like a good relationship. I mean, it's just like, if I never met Nikki, would I ever have, thought our relationship was bad? I would not.
Interesting.
That's one thing I always thought about. Like, even Nikki asked me, like, if, I don't want you. She said, I don't want you to leave your wife just because of me. I'm just like, what do you mean? She said, well, just if you met me, like, would you have known? I'm like, no. So I never thought I would have strayed away from her at all. Like, I've never tried to follow anybody, Right.
Was Shanann checking your phone, or?
She always had my phone.
She was checking your phone? So how did you get past that?
I use my work phone.
To text? And you had some secret apps, right?
That was on my personal phone.
Were you using anything else to have contact with her?
I just text her with my work phone. And like, when Shanann, the kids went to North Carolina, she used my personal phone. And she just told me, like, to put the pictures in an app, and I just found that calculator. I just put, just searched on the app store, like, hidden pictures, and this calculator app popped up.
Like in your iCloud or your whatever.
And see, they say their affair started, well, NK and Chris have both said, oh no, it was only, NK said around Father's Day or whatever, or something like that. End of June, beginning of July, she said. Here, Chris is saying, yeah, I would text her from my work phone, but then when Shanann went to North Carolina, I just used my personal phone. Okay, well, Shanann went to North Carolina at the end of June. So how long were you texting her with your work phone for? Like, it's just obvious that it was much longer than NK portrays their affair as. Like, I think that is 100% safe to put money on theory that their affair was much longer than the 6 weeks. And, once Shanann went to North Carolina, this and that, it was like, no, you guys were doing this much longer than that.
Never isn't linked together, so she would know if you're getting at, downloading apps and stuff like that.
They used to be a long time ago, but when we got different phones, or when our phone, like our phone contact list would be synced up from the cloud and stuff like that, I couldn't have, like, she had like tons and tons and tons of like phone contacts. I just couldn't have all that, but it's still kind of linked up at one point. But as far as like, she asked me to get my own iCloud account just to kind of free that up a little bit.
How about your Facebook account? You deleted that at some point. When did you do that? And why?
I think it was, got back August 7th. Went to work. I think it was probably August 8th. That's when Nikki told me she told her friends about me. And I just figured, they probably looked me up on Facebook and see that she was pregnant.
Okay, so he deletes his Facebook in August because Nikki told her friends about him, and he figured that they would look him up and see that Shanann was pregnant. And then we have Nick and Kay saying, No, none of my friends knew about him. Only my dad knew. Oh my God.
If Nikki already found, knew probably already, but the reason why I did that.
Did you and Nikki ever fight?
We never fought, but like I said, I had to like calm her down a bunch of times.
Yeah, you started to mention that.
So they'd only been together 6 weeks, but he had to calm her down a bunch of times. The heck? This girl sounds like a nightmare. You've only known her for this short a time. Even if it was a longer affair, he had to calm her down a bunch of times. He had to walk her off a ledge, he said. Like, the heck is wrong with both these people? I appreciate your professional opinion, Seth, and I will definitely take that into consideration as I do my research. And is definitely noted in my research that unfortunately, without the trial, we just don't know what his diagnosis is. And just like I've always felt he's not narcissistic, I've still explored the idea that he is on some level of narcissism, which is why I will definitely take your professional opinion in consideration, just like everyone else's opinions as well. So I do appreciate everyone being here and in the chat, giving their opinions too.
We were talking to you before about her getting upset about some video or something about being bipolar, or what are you talking about?
I think either my dad told me about that or John Walsh told me about, like, she made a couple videos, like, when she was just, like, you know, talking to herself, saying that she was bipolar or something like that. But a lot of things, like, when she realized that, okay, like, she's the other person in the relationship, that, you know, I'd always put my wife first over her, and that's what kind of made her take a step back a few times, and then, like, I had to kind of, like, calm her down.
Tell me about those times. What'd that look like?
So the first one was probably around July 4th when I had to leave her house, because she wanted to kind of spend most of the day together before she went to, like, a baseball game or something. And, like, when I had to leave, it kind of just made her, like, kind of take a step back and wonder what she was doing. And I just, you know, told her, like, hey, you know, just because of what's going, like, just because I had to leave doesn't mean, like, you know, you have to just take a step. I was like comforting her at some point. I don't even know why I was doing it. Maybe I knew I was too far gone at that point, but it was.
This is Shanann's pissed. She's called you 10 times. You were sleeping because you had your day off, and then you go outside to talk to her on the phone, and then tell Nikki that you need to go home just in case she calls back and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what did she say to you, Nikki?
She was in the shower. She said, "Okay," and then that's like when I talked about I calm her down. She's on the phone.
And was she like, we're breaking up, like we're not?
Did you hear the way he just mimicked NK there? Who's on the phone? What? It's so much more clear with this audio enhancement. Like, would you guys be interested in me putting up the entire interview, 4 hours, 45 minutes with this clear audio without like us pausing it, and like just have that and we can like talk through chat? Like, would that be something you guys would be interested in? Let me go back here, but like listen to how he describes the way NK was when she's in the shower and Chris is on the phone with Shanann, and Shanann's like, where are you at?
That's when Nikki told me she told her friends about me. And I just figured, you know, they probably looked me up on Facebook and see that she was pregnant. If Nikki already knew probably already, but the reason why I did that.
Did you and Nikki ever fight?
We never fought, but like I said, I had to like calm her down a bunch of times.
Yeah, you started to mention that when we were talking to you before about her getting upset about some video or something about being bipolar, or what are you talking about?
I think either my dad told me about that or John Walsh told me about, like, she made a couple videos like when she was just like, you know, talking to herself, saying that she was bipolar or something like that. But a lot of things was like, when she realized that, okay, like she's the other person in the relationship, that, you know, I'd always put my wife first over her, and that's what kind of made her take a step back a few times, and then like I had to kind of like calm her down.
Tell me about those times. What'd that look like?
So the first one was probably around July 4th when I had to leave her house, because she wanted to kind of spend most of the day together before she went to like a baseball game or something. And like when I had to leave, it kind of just made her like kind of take a step back and wonder what she was doing. And I just, you know, told her like, hey, you know, just because of what's going, like, just because I had to leave doesn't mean like, you know, you have to just take a step. I was like comforting her at some point. I don't even know why I was doing it. Maybe I knew I was too far gone at that point, but
He's like saying, I don't even know why I was doing it. Like, this is July what, 4th? And he's saying, I don't even know why I was doing it. I guess I was too far gone at that point. Like, no, you're not. Like, the heck? Yeah, exactly, CDT. July 4th, she already wanted to spend most of the day with Chris. Okay, so let's continue, and then we'll listen to him talk about how NK was like, who's on the phone?
This is Shannon's pissed. She's called you 10 times. You were sleeping because you had your day off. And then you go outside to talk to her on the phone and then tell Nikki that you need to go home just in case she calls back and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what did she say to you, Nikki?
She was in the shower. She said, okay. And then that's like, when I talked about like calm her down, he's on the phone.
So. And was she like, we're breaking up, like we're not gonna, can't do this?
No, she said like she didn't want to, like she didn't think it was safe or it was good for us to see each other anymore that day, like the rest of that day, just because of all that. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And she asked me to come over like later on after she got.
So see, she tried to play a game with him. He gets calls from Shanann, who's freaking out. Where the hell are you? Why aren't you answering? Because he was sleeping. He fell asleep over at NK's. He picks up the phone and tells NK that he's leaving. And she's like, who's on the phone? And she's in the shower and she's like, I don't think we should hang out the rest of the day. And Chris was just like, okay. He's like totally fine with it.
Back from a baseball game.
And so you did that?
Mm-hmm.
So what was the second one like?
It was basically about the same thing. She was, you know, I didn't really know it at one point, but I guess she had set up a couple dates with like some eHarmony app or something. And they never showed up. And she'd already made plans with me. And, you know.
Wait, what do you mean? She set up dates when she had plans with you?
Yeah.
Why would she do that?
I guess she kind of figured out they weren't going to show up. She went, I guess when she went to the baseball game, they never showed up. And there was another one and never showed up either.
So she's actively dating other people?
I didn't know it until like a couple weeks later.
How did you find out?
She told me.
What'd she say?
She, it was one conversation where I actually kind of fell asleep on the couch, and then like she had told me like, I'm not sure why she told me about it, but it was very random, and she could tell that it kind of like took me back a little bit because I figured she would have told me that if she was actively still like looking around. I mean, she didn't have to tell me, but I figured she would.
Do you think she told you though so that it would hurry you up and
make a decision?
You're making a decision?
It might have been. But, you know, she never had anybody that actually tried to, like, fix things as far as, like, you know, hey, like, I like where we're at as far as, like, the relationship goes. And actually, like, I did stuff for her around the house, around her little apartment. And, like, nobody's ever done that. And she just thought it was different. So.
What about our male friend? Where does he stand with her? What's his name?
Jim.
Thank you.
He worked in the oil field, North Dakota, I believe, and I guess he's been a friend of hers for a long time, and it's kind of like a shoulder to cry on. There's always somebody that's always been around for her, and guess he's had a couple girlfriends, and just I guess he's hadn't had much luck, I guess, in that department as far as like keeping girlfriends, and just him and Nikki have always been good friends.
Just platonic friends.
That's
as far as you know.
As much as I knew.
Yeah.
But I think they just been friends for a long time, especially up in oil field, North Dakota, or whatever he's working now. I think either Wyoming, they go all over the place.
When Sandy and Frank lived in the house for 15 months, what was that like?
It was, it was tough. You want me to wait or no? Okay. It was tough.
See, like I want to hear more about Jim there. Like, why did they just stop talking about Jim and go back to the Ruseks living with them, back to family drama? I don't care about that. I want to know more about Jim and what he knew and why on Nicole Kessinger's phone logs she's calling you, Chris, and then she's hanging up with you and calling Jim. Then she's hanging up with Chris, or Jim, and calling Chris back. And then randomly she'll call her father. What is going on? And hello, Seymour Butts. Thank you for being here. And everyone else, thank you for being here as well. Yes, Seth, I agree. Jim is a part of all this. I agree. Ambi, I think that's possible for sure. Drug, sex, rock and roll lifestyle with them. Yeah, I mean they do. Law enforcement is asking a lot of questions about NK and Jim. Yeah, in the last 15 minutes, hey Punksy, they have kind of dug deep into NK and Jim. But it's unfortunate that the whole interview is 4 hours and 45-ish minutes, and it's taken almost 4 hours for them to even like bring Jim up. And like at this point, everyone knows that when you're interviewing people, they just get exhausted, this and that. So why would they wait for, I don't know, the order of all this stuff? Like, why did we have to talk about Nutgate? Why couldn't we have just talked about Jim at that point?
Because I mean, go from just me and Shanann and Bella and CC to, 2 other people, and then now 4 dogs. Yeah. Onyx he's a terror, 100 pounds of just heat-seeking missile everywhere. And like it was cool having more people around, but like it was stressful.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, because with Shanann, like having 2 dominant personalities in the house, and with her mom there, it was kind of like what her mom would tell her kind of how to raise the kids sometimes, or like, do this, do that, like whenever they were sick, she was like, all right, rub peroxide on their feet, they'll be fine. Just like, what? Okay. And like I wouldn't do it, and saying like, just do that, it's okay. But like, it's just like little things like that, and it was like a clash every day.
Yeah.
It's kind of like every time I got home, I didn't know if Shanann was pissed or if she was okay. Because when they first got there, they didn't have a job.
I just know I would not be able to live with my mother. So, I mean, that's the thing is like, I just feel like we waste a lot of time with in this interview talking about the family drama and dynamics. It's like the fact that this was the situation at one point and it is what it was, like they lived with them. It's whatever, you know what I mean? Like it's just not it should not be even the main focus right now.
Yet, and so they're just around all the time. But then like once they got jobs and stuff, like I think it was a little better for Shanann because they weren't around the house all day. But it was definitely stressful, just vacuuming like every other day.
Yeah.
And just like, I mean, cooking was great. That was awesome. But
She's a good cook.
I was always like, because they were down in the basement, so I was always really trying to keep the girls upstairs while they were sleeping, so you know they're running around downstairs, and I didn't want them to wake up. And I know Frank always told me that waking up Sandy early is not good. So it was just just kind of like walking on eggshells a lot.
Yeah, it was stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah. You think that stressed your marriage with the time, or?
I mean, it was 16 months. It was 15, 16 months. Yeah, it was a long time. I mean, it was great around the holiday times because they were already there, and like all that was great.
Sure.
Yeah, it definitely. We never really had much alone time.
Yeah.
You always had to kind of plan it out. So.
Yeah. What was her purpose for living out there?
They just wanted to be close to the kids. Okay. Just because they're, we FaceTime a lot, but it's not the same as like.
Right.
With 2 kids, it's hard to fly back and forth. I mean, when they went back to North Carolina this past time, it was the first time Cece's been there. She was 3.
Yeah.
First time her brother ever met her.
So were they trying to move to Colorado permanently, or they
were thinking about it at that point in time.
Okay.
But Frank would have stayed. He didn't want to leave. Sandy wanted to leave.
She wanted to go back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a matter of like they knew their house wasn't being taken care of. And they wanted to go back and because they had put their house up for sale for a little while, but never bought.
Mm.
Okay. What about your financial stresses?
Yeah, the bankruptcy was something I never thought was going to happen. I think that was back in like 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. But I never thought that was going to happen. And I never thought, a lot of it was from the wedding because they just put it all on credit cards.
Mm.
And so it was, and then the doctor bills from like, endoscopies and just like girls seemed like they were sick like every month. It seemed like some type of ear infection, which to figure out was just like, put the tubes in their ears and stuff. There was like, different operations here, a couple overnight stays in the hospital for breathing and stuff like that. And so it was just, it all mounted up. I mean, I never thought it was that far gone, but,
Is any of that from Shannon's neck surgery, or are those bills pretty well paid up?
Well, I think the bankruptcy never touched the medical part of it, because you have to be like specify the medical part of it, medical bankruptcy, and then there's like regular bankruptcy.
Oh.
I don't think bankruptcy ever touches like student loans or medical stuff. You have to be specific to that.
Okay.
But I think it just took away like a lot of furniture that we had bought, and then a couple other things inside the house. To kind of alleviate a lot of we had to make the house payment by phone every month, and I had to listen to the bankruptcy spiel like every time, and it's just like, I didn't know how long it was going to take. But apparently once you're in bankruptcy, it's pretty much you never get out of it.
Yeah.
It felt like.
Weren't you guys behind on your mortgage even when I talked to you?
Earlier, and it's like, I think December 27th.
Yeah, I don't know much about it, Caroline, but just listening to the way he worded all that sounded a lot like the times when he's talking about things that he's not 100% sure on. Like, I'm almost feeling like Chris has no idea what took place with all this, like, bankruptcy. Like, I just feel like he's, like, just told, like, a rundown maybe, and, like, he's not even listening. It just didn't seem like he even knew what he was talking about. And everyone that has listened to this or studied this case are all like, what is it? I don't understand what he's referring to.
17, and then January, February, March 2018. That's when we took the 401k out, the loan out to pay for that.
How was it that you were spending so much money? What were the things down?
Just, kids and just other bills that we had, and just, I knew the car was getting paid for by the bell. I never really asked to see, I didn't even have access to the bank account on my phone.
Oh.
So, I never really asked to see what it looked like how far, but I just know she'd call me and tell me, hey, can you pay the mortgage today? I'm like, yeah, cool. And that was just, from the from my little four-wheeler incident where I sold it without actually paying it off yet. And she thought, like, no, you're never touching the account ever. So I'm like, okay, that's cool with me. But I never saw the account for what was it. I just like, hey, like when I worked at Lawnmower Ford, I got my check, I just brought it there.
Yeah. So. There's a hair care company, I think it's called Monat. Does that ring a bell? You know anything about that? Mm-hmm. Like maybe hair dye. I don't know. Looks like do you know if she did like an auto order through that company, had stuff delivered for her, any kind of hair care product or hair care dye?
Not something. I mean, she had like little. I remember there's something like a little gift pack she had delivered once every month or once every 2 months. Had like a different array of different products in it.
Don't remember where it's from. Okay.
No. Like we said, Monet.
Monat. M-O-N-A-T. Mm-hmm. No.
Well.
Okay. There was an order that was made. Like 251. That's why I asked if it was like an auto order type.
It might have been an auto order.
Yeah,
it might have been something that I know that Nicole Atkinson, she's into all that stuff. Maybe Shanann got her. Maybe Shanann got her something, or maybe it was something she recommended.
Okay. How about the HOA thing? What happened there?
She was mailing it to the wrong address. They had changed her address, and she'd mailed it to the wrong address for a year, and then we got a letter in the mail where we getting like sued over it. We didn't pay our HOAs for a year. So we had to pay double for either a whole year or a couple months. That sucked.
What happened to all the money that sent to the wrong address?
Don't know. I don't know. They said they wouldn't credit it or anything. I'm not even sure what the address was. She said it was just something that she didn't see. I was like, well, I wasn't gonna harp her about it because she did so much. So I was like, I'm not gonna like say, what the heck are you doing? No, sure. Don't need that. Unless you felt bad enough.
So, Chris, what do you think we could have done better? What could have?
So, Pink Dahlia asked what I think about the hair dye. It was in the discovery, it says that there was a credit card transaction that took place like in the early morning hours at night, like early morning hours. And it was to some MLM company that Shanann was a part of. And it was like they just charge your card automatically. So that's what that was. And they were just asking Chris, I guess, about it. But I'm curious because he's saying that it was automatic, but I'm like, do we even have proof of that? Like, he's just saying it was an automatic charge, but do we really even have proof that that's true? But I don't know, guys. I feel like there will be part 7. We are at the 4-hour mark, and we have, let's see, less than 45 minutes to go. So I think that is a good time to stop, and we will conclude the final segment in the next live stream on this. Yeah, exactly, Deco. He was guessing. They know what Monet is. It's a hair product MLM. Right. Like, why are they going to him for the answers? They know what it is. So I'm curious because even though he states that it was probably automatic withdrawal, I really want to know, like, is that actually the truth? Good night, everybody. Thank you for being here. Yeah, exactly, Karen. I guess that's a good note to leave it on. Always more questions than answers with this case. Yeah. And yeah, that's I can't stress enough how much I recommend checking out For those who have just joined the channel or us tonight for the live stream, CDT has a whole like encyclopedia on this case, with me collaborating with her as well. So a lot of our research is also over there, which is in the description box. So if you need more Watts content, you can find it here and there. And we will conclude this as soon as possible, guys, and talk very soon. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much, everyone.